They travel back to the town and everything that Sierra sees is new to her. She gets excited about every small thing, including fruit sellers, merchants, blacksmiths, and even fountains. Kelvin tells Ethel to take care of her while he goes back to the guild. As soon as he opens the door, he finds a party organized by Ange waiting for him as he has been promoted to an ranked adventurer. They all drink and eat late into the night, after which they all crash into a dreamless sleep, waiting for their next adventure. Some days have passed since they found Sierra, and finally she has warmed up to them. To increase their team's performance, Kelvin learnt the art of blacksmithing and created some amazing armor and bracers for Sierra, a new sword for Gerard, and a secret item for Ethel. He seems to be tired of all the work and decides to lay down when he suddenly remembers that ever since he came here, all that he has eaten is bread, and not a single grain of rice. He immediately decides that he needs to find a place where rice is grown, and after a couple of days of research, they get ready for a journey to a kingdom called Toraj. They travel on a horse cart, which is a first for Sierra, who still gets excited over every little thing that she sees, including the river and the boat. Suddenly the cart stops as a bunch of thieves ambush them. A blue-haired Karen, who seems to be the leader of this pack, tells the driver to stop moving if he cares for his life, while she spots both Ethel and Sierra inside the cart. Kelvin asks the driver whether he knows about this group, and he replies that this group lives in the Toraj region and are a famous band of thieves. Kelvin quickly checks their stats, only to be disappointed by their levels that is below 30. He tells Sierra that she can play with them if she wants, but tells her that she can't use her bracers as it would be too overpowering. She gets disappointed but still moves out alone, which surprises the thieves, but the Karen simply laughs at her and tells her underlings to not hurt the girls as the boss would want them fresh. One of the guys moves forward but is blasted away just by a tiny punch. This shocks the pack of thieves, but Karen takes some copium and tells the others that it was just a fluke. The other guys attack her in tandem but get blasted away in a similar fashion, while the big brute tries to crush her with a massive hammer. But to their surprise, Sierra simply stops the hammer with one hand and after a while tips it towards the brute, who falls to the ground pinned by his own hammer. After that, Sierra ties them all up with some rope, but Karen can't keep her mouth shut and, like the classic blue-haired feminist, starts screaming at them that her boss is level 70 and will make them pay with their lives. Kelvin and Sierra are unfazed by it and tell her that Sierra herself is level 75, which scares Karen off and she finally shuts up. After that, they finally arrive into the kingdom and Kelvin realizes that it looks like an older version of Japan. They wander around the area and both Ethel and Sierra witness the sea for the first time in their lives. After that, they move straight to the Adventurers Guild, where an old lady welcomes them and claims that Leo has told her all about them. She claims that she used to be on the same party with Leo at one time as well. This makes Kelvin trust her more, and he tells her about the thieves that they caught. The lady takes this seriously and tells them that this group is known as the Black Wind, who were once defeated by some ranked adventurers who are now treated as national heroes. According to her information, now these heroes decided to take control of the group themselves and use it as a front for slave trade. Ethel claims that they should immediately find these people and catch them, but the lady claims that it is not that easy, as if they catch the national heroes, this could result in enmity between the government of Toraj and the government of Parth, where they are from. Kelvin thinks about it when he suddenly feels the presence of some people coming through the front gate of the city, and his suspicions are confirmed after he spots the hero and their party walking into the city. He tells the guildmaster that if the hero's party took down this gang of thieves, then the public cannot be disappointed, and the heroes do not belong to any one government, so there would be no problems in that regard. The guildmaster agrees with this suggestion and invites the heroes into the guild before explaining the situation to them. Meanwhile, Kelvin and his party goes into the hideout of the thieves and kick open the door, knocking one of the thieves out, only to find a Joker-looking dude harassing some women. Before he can react, Gerard shoves him into the wall, knocking him out. They then move forward and open the door of the room where the leaders are, and immediately a clash happens. The leader of the group thinks that he is on the same level as them, but Kelvin soon tells him that beating his entire party is easier than washing dishes before unleashing a magic attack. Meanwhile, the hero's party enters the dungeon and starts walking through the corridors trying to find the slaves. They come across a door and open it to find Chloe in front of all the slaves. The guy immediately takes out his sword, but one of the slave girls runs up in front of the slime and tells the hero that this slime belongs to the adventurers who saved them. They are still on the edge, but the girl's mom explains that some ranked adventurers came before and they were able to liberate them before going further and to deal with the leaders. Before going, they left the slime behind to make sure that the slaves are safe. After that, the woman tells the heroes that they should quickly go behind them as the leaders are veteran warriors and the ranked adventurers won't be able to deal with them alone. The hero and his party immediately rushes out of the room into the hallway to finally find another door. They burst into the room only to find the actual gang leaders on the floor, but they mistakenly believe that they were the ranked adventurers. After that, they enter another room only to find Kelvin and his party sitting in a very villainous pose waiting for them. Kelvin keeps acting evil and tells the hero named Toya that the ranked adventurers were no match against him and they were crying like a bitch when he was beating them and he didn't even have to try at all. Toya immediately takes out his sword, followed by the other girls in his group while Kelvin laughs at them before standing up and claiming that he wants to propose a challenge. Whoever wins the challenge will do whatever the winner tells them to do, and because the hero's party shares a single brain cell amongst them, they agree to this. He tells them that he will be fighting them all at once alone and they can use whatever way they want to try and defeat him. At first, Toya tells him that he can't fight like that as it is dishonorable, but the girls in his team knock some sense into him by claiming that Kelvin looks like a strong opponent, and they shouldn't take chances. Meanwhile, Kelvin goes back to his party and explains his plan, which is to use the heroes to testify against Kristoff and his gang of thieves so that the people of this kingdom have no option but to believe them. Moreover, he really wants to fight the heroes' party to see how strong they are and also so he can use his new secret equipment. The heroes' party psychs themselves up and get ready to fight. They all release their special skills and rush towards Kelvin, assuming that he is a caster and won't be able to fight in close combat. Kelvin, however, is much stronger and simply uses energy blasts aimed at them that stops Toya and one of his companions on the spot. The long-haired girl tries to use an aerial slash, but Kelvin immediately dodges, only to be attacked by the tamer of their party who has a dragon in her backpack. The dragon shoots flames at him, but he immediately uses a speed buff on himself and escapes the attack range. He quickly appears behind the white-haired cutie and touches her from behind, using his special armor and skill named Skill Eater that lets him copy anyone's skills just by touching them. He is able to steal the cutie's special skill as she falls to the ground unconscious. Toya quickly runs at him with an attack, but Kelvin immediately dodges and falls back. The girls quickly start healing the cutie while Toya pursues Kelvin and keeps slashing at him again and again only to be blocked. Kelvin soon realizes that Toya's sword skills are higher than him, and soon enough, a part of his wand breaks off when it clashes with Toya's sword. Toya pursues after him while he simply punches his sword away. This shocks him, but he keeps attacking with his sword while Kelvin simply uses his bare hands to block the blows and push him back. The girls are beyond surprised as Toya has S-rank sword skills and still Kelvin is able to fight him without any weapons. Soon enough, the long-haired girl named Setsuna decides to help him, but Toya simply dodges the blow and backs off while creating a huge earth wall in front of him. Setsuna uses her special skill which lets her cut through anything in front of her, and the wall is cleanly sliced into two. Before she could regain her balance, Kelvin charges up a huge blast and uses it towards her, but the blast is blocked by Toya, who takes a lot of damage, but saves Setsuna. His party members seem to be worried about him, but he gets up once again only to get slapped by Setsuna, who tells him to think about himself as well. This makes things very awkward for Kelvin as he just stands there and waits while the girls give Toya a pep talk about how they are all a team and the only way they can move forward is if they work together. Kelvin asks whether they are done with their chit-chat as he is getting pretty bored. The heroes are finally ready to fight with a newfound camaraderie when suddenly someone throws a flashbang at him, completely blinding him. The tamer Nana immediately uses her ice magic to try and freeze Kelvin, while the cutie uses her gravity magic to stop Kelvin in his place. Meanwhile, both Toya and Setsuna rush towards him with their swords drawn, which forces Kelvin to use an explosion magic to create some space between them. Toya and Setsuna get up from the ground and look over to see Kelvin appear out of the dust, completely unharmed. He tells them that it was a good display of coordination before turning towards Nana and Cutie. He tells them that after they cast their binding spells, they should have followed it up with some offensive spells which would have made it much harder to escape and respond to Toya and Setsuna's attacks. He then tells Setsuna that her attacks are way too easy to read and that she should try not to think too much before making a move. This makes Toya really mad, who decides to use his special power, and his sword suddenly splits into two. He starts swinging the swords around like a total buffoon, but his teammates are equally dumb and think that he is heroic. Setsuna gets ready for an attack as well, but this time, Nana attacks first with her most powerful ice magic that creates a bunch of icicles below Kelvin, and he is stuck because of all the ice on top, unable to move very freely. Meanwhile, the cutie also decides to chip in and uses her magic to create a huge golem that charges a magic blast and shoots it at Kelvin. He realizes that this is getting interesting, so he creates a couple of golems of his own that block the attack, while he tells them to buy him some time. He immediately starts creating a bunch of magic circles around him all at once that scare and confuse the heroes, but soon enough the cutie realizes that he is trying to think of an extremely powerful attack that can free him from the frozen icicles. Setsuna immediately jumps into action, slicing through the golems and heading towards Kelvin, but before she could reach him, he is able to use this new spell that creates a large number of very powerful blasts that totally destroy the icicles, freeing him. Setsuna backs off but decides that she can't let him get the upper hand and thrusts herself once again into combat. But Kelvin is simply faster than her, and before she could hit him, he punches her in the stomach, knocking her down. Suddenly, Cutie's ogre starts attacking him, and he realizes that the best way to destroy is to aim for the caster, so he jumps up in the air and knocks the cutie down as well, destroying the ogre completely. Watching this, Nana takes to the air on her baby dragon and uses an ice magic to cover herself in an icy crystal. But before she could reach him, Kelvin simply uses the binding magic he used against Victor, and Nana immediately is unable to move and falls of the sky like a dead fly. Toya is able to catch her before putting her down and turning his attention towards Kelvin. He is enraged and starts wildly swinging at him while Kelvin is able to cleanly block his attack again, and just as Toya starts charging for a massive strike, Kelvin cleanly bypasses his defense and uppercuts him, knocking him out as well. Sometimes later, Toya wakes up from his slumber and immediately looks around to see his teammates looking at him worriedly while Kelvin sits alongside the slave girl. At first he immediately looks for his sword, but then he spots Chloe sitting on the girl's lap. Confused as heck, he asks what is happening, and Kelvin finally reveals that he is just an adventurer and his party saved the slave girls before they came. Toya asks why they had to fight then, but suddenly remembers that while they were fighting, Kelvin kept telling him what they were doing wrong and was probably trying to train them. Toya immediately apologizes and bows down, begging Kelvin to teach him some more about how to fight more efficiently in a party. The next morning, Kelvin meets up with the guildmaster, who thanks him for capturing the Black Wind Thieves and claims that they are all rotting in a dungeon right now. She asks whether he would be staying in this city for longer, but Kelvin replies that he will probably leave soon after relaxing a bit. After that, Kelvin, his party, and the heroes go into a small cave by the seaside, where Toya and his party fight against a giant squid monster as an exercise while Kelvin tells them their flaws as a party and as individuals. He guides them through the fight, and soon enough the squid is dead on the floor. After that, they all sit down on the picnic laid out by Ethel, and they all start eating while Toya tells Kelvin about how he got incarnated into this world. According to him, he was chilling with his friends in the classroom when suddenly everything started glowing, and suddenly they met a goddess named Mel who reincarnated them into this world. They woke up in a cathedral in front of a priestess who has been guiding them ever since. Toya tells them that they need to be careful about themselves first and foremost, and have to make sure that they are not mindlessly running into danger just because they want to save someone. Toya apologizes for his behavior and claims that there has been many times where he has put his team in danger just because of his hero's complex. Suddenly Sierra comes back and claims that she caught a huge fish, but when she pulls it out from the water, it turns out to be an S-rank water dragon. Sierra immediately starts beating it with her punches, almost playfully, while Toya and her party are shocked as hell to see someone fighting against an S-ranked monster without even breaking a sweat. Later that day, Toya and his party bid farewell, where Kelvin gives them a pendant each that he created himself as a good luck charm. After that, the heroes board a ship and move away from the shore while Kelvin and Gerard watch them. Kelvin turns around and tells Gerard that he plans to spend some more time adventuring on this continent, and he seems to agree with this notion. While talking, suddenly a messenger arrives with the message that the Queen of Torage has requested their presence in her court, and they immediately rush to the castle. Kelvin is shocked to see the scale of the castle and the fact that it is ancient Japanese architecture. Gerard claims that he heard that the first emperor of this region was also a man who was summoned here as a hero from another world, and he brought pieces of his tradition and transformed this region. They finally enter the castle, and after taking off their shoes they all bow down in front of the queen, who tells them not to worry about the formalities and thanks them for their help with the capture of the Black Wind Thief gang. She tells them that normally she would have organized a huge public ceremony to honor them as heroes, but considering that they are from Parth, it could create some issues with the people living here. She then asks Kelvin to ask for anything he wants as a prize for the work he has done, and if it is under her power, she will grant it to him. Kelvin simply replies that he knows that Toraj is producing a crop which is very similar to rice that was found in his world, and asks for the permission to buy this crop from her kingdom. The queen seems surprised and asks why is he not asking for money, fame, or riches, but Kelvin replies that he doesn't really care about all that stuff and would just like to have some rice for himself. The queen laughs at this and claims that he doesn't need to buy anything, as she will have his wagon loaded with a bunch of rice, and if that ever gets over, he can simply write a letter to her, and she will send over more. Following that, she organizes a small banquet for our heroes, and they all eat a buttload of rice alongside some traditional Japanese dishes that they all enjoyed to their heart's content. Some days have passed now, and Kelvin has been staying at the castle alongside his party as the queen's guest. Ethel arrives in his room and has started creating a bunch of Japanese food, which everyone is impressed by as she has a rank cooking skills. He starts eating the rice balls when the queen also comes in to share, claiming that even her chefs can't create a rice ball as delicious as this one. She then asks Kelvin whether he would want to stay here in Toraj and work for her, but he refuses the offer kindly, claiming that they are adventurers and they usually don't work for anyone. The queen laughs and tells him that if he ever changes his mind, he is welcome to work in Toraj. That evening, they all get ready to leave back for Parth when the queen tells them that they are going to use a special means of travel, and they go down into the dungeon to see a teleporting gate. She tells him that this is connected to the gate in Parth and that they will immediately reach there once passing through. Kelvin and his party bids farewell to the queen and pass through the gate to finally reach their hometown. The next morning, Kelvin sits down on the dining table while sipping his tea before telling Ethel that he has bought a house for them and they would be staying there from now on. They are all happy as they see the massive mansion for the first time and eagerly open the door to get inside. They also find the two slaves that they rescued in Toraj called Ellie and Luca, who would now be working as the servants of this mansion. Sierra immediately rushes off to find the biggest room to herself, while Gerard goes into the dungeons to create a training room. Ethel runs off to find the kitchen, while Chloe seems to be happy with the lawn and wants to live there. Kelvin later reaches a room that has been converted into a total bathhouse and takes a long, well-needed bath before collapsing on his bed for the night to get some sleep. Suddenly, he hears Mel's voice, who claims that he has collected enough experiencer, and Mana points that he can now summon her. Excited beyond imagination, he quickly gets off his bed and immediately chants a spell that creates a magic circle, and through it descends the beautiful goddess Mel, who looks just as pretty as my girlfriend. She asks whether he thinks that she looks good, and he replies that he always wanted to clap some goddess cheeks before turning in for the night. The next morning, everyone is greeted by Mel at the breakfast table, but no one seems to recognize her till she reveals that she was summoned last night by Kelvin. Everyone is shocked to have a living goddess between them, but they soon get used to her while she happily eats cookies made by Ethel. Kelvin asks whether calling her by her real name would be fine, as she is a famous goddess, but she replies that a lot of people name their girls after the goddesses, so it shouldn't raise any eyebrows. She then turns towards Kelvin, and as a thanks for reincarnating her, she gives him a reward by drawing a flower in the air with her magic that floats inside of his chest. She claims that he now has the grace of the goddess of reincarnation, which will give him two special abilities that are not possessed by anyone else on this planet. Kelvin eagerly awaits for the reveal as Mel explains that the first ability is a defensive one which can be applied once a month, which will protect him from an attack which would have taken his life otherwise. Kelvin is really happy about this, as it now grants him a little bit of wiggle room for mistakes, as even if someone surprise attacks him, he will be safe. Mel seems to be relieved that he likes the ability before revealing that this is not even the main ability, and the main special ability that he possesses now is the power to summon his own heroes that shocks everyone, including Kelvin. Later that day, Sierra challenges Mel to a friendly battle in the dungeon training room that Gerard has set up, and the fight starts. They both go all out since the start, attacking each other with their best abilities while going back and forth. Gerard calmly sits in the corner bench alongside Luca and watches the battle unfold, impressed by the skills of both the participants. Suddenly, Sierra uses a special ability which creates a special gauntlet on her arms and rushes in to attack Mel, while she uses another spell to reinforce herself and rushes in with a spear thrust of her own. The attacks clash and Mel's spear shatters on impact, but Mel simply smiles while Sierra realizes that her gauntlet has gotten destroyed as well. They fight some more before Sierra is able to gain a slight upper hand and brings Mel down to her knees. Gerard applauds both fighters for an excellent performance while Sierra helps Mel get up. After taking a bath, Mel decides to visit Kelvin, who is still brooding over the way this world works. He is unable to understand why heroes need to be summoned in order to defeat a demon lord, as there must be several strong S-ranked adventurers that can band together and probably bring the demon lord down. Mel surprises him from behind and makes him deep-throat a chocolate while he asks her why there is a need to summon heroes and isn't there a way to stop the demon lord from ever coming back. Mel explains to him that the reincarnation of the demon lord is a truth in this world, which is more or less a natural order that can't be manipulated. It is a vicious cycle written in the destiny of this world that every couple of centuries later a new demon lord is born. She tells him that the demon lord cannot be identified as it looks like a normal demon, but there are two special attributes that make him different. The first one is that the evil inside the demon lord automatically multiplies again and again to the point where no matter how kind the demon lord was in the beginning, by the time he starts ruling, his personality will be changed into pure evil. The second most overpowered ability that he possesses is the skill to nullify any kind of magic. This really shocks Kelvin, who asks how the hell are they ever going to defeat him if he can nullify all sorts of magic. Mel smiles and tells him that this is why the heroes are summoned from a different world, as they are not from this world, so the natural order doesn't apply to them, and their magic is fundamentally different from this world as well, which means that the demon lord can't nullify their magic. Kelvin asks whether this means that even his magic will affect the demon lord, and Mel replies that it will. She continues that the title of heroes is simply given to these people as it gives the local people living in these war-torn areas a ray of hope when they hear that heroes are coming to save them. Kelvin still seems to be very skeptical about summoning someone from the normal world without their consent, and straight up plunging them into a world of monsters and demons where they will be forced to risk their lives. Mel seems to understand this and explains that he has two choices. He can either summon a person to this world or he can reincarnate them. The difference between them is that the people who get summoned are like the hero's party, living humans who are teleported to this world, but the people who are reincarnated are similar to Kelvin, who got deleted by Truck Kun and are given a chance to start a new life in a different world. This makes more sense to him, and he seems to be more willing to reincarnate a person to this world and giving them a second chance at life just like he got one. Later that evening, Kelvin ends up making up his mind and decides that he will reincarnate a hero to this world. Everyone assembles in the dungeons while Kelvin gets ready to use his special skill for the very first time. They all stand in a row while Kelvin calls all of his summons back. Ethel then gives him a shot of Russian vodka as he wants to summon Vladimir Putin himself. He then chants the spells and suddenly a huge magic circle appears on the floor. A huge amount of mana points are used during this, so he sits down on a chair and drinks some tea like a posh British wanker while waiting for Putin to appear. He asks Mel whether he made a mistake or did something wrong. Mel calmly replies that he should just be patient, as the person who is getting reincarnated seems to be choosing their skills among other things. He waits for some more time when suddenly Mel claims that the selection process is complete, and soon enough a shadowy figure appears from the magic circle. As soon as the dust clears up, Kelvin is a little disappointed to see that instead of Putin, some useless Chinese factory worker got reincarnated. This girl looks around confused and dazed, but Kelvin calmly walks towards her and claims that she doesn't need to worry as she is safe. He then explains to her that he was the one who summoned her here, and she immediately lights up, introducing herself as Rio, and claims that she met an angel before coming here who told her that she is going to become a hero soon. Kelvin smiles and tells her that this is true, and immediately she starts crying out of happiness and hugs Kelvin. She seems to be relieved to have a chance at life again and seems to be so tired that she ends up sleeping while crying. Kelvin looks at her adoringly, but soon enough even he starts feeling incredibly drowsy as he has used almost all of his mana points to summon Rio.